About what's going on here at the DNC, because at the heart of the scandal, which is really kicking off this convention at the DNC, are some 19,000 emails. One of the most damaging exchanges in the trove appeared to question Senator Bernie Sanders' faith. An email, apparently from the DNC chief financial officer, sent in May, while the primaries were still going on, did not directly mention Sanders, but read, quote, this: "For Kentucky and West Virginia, can we get someone to ask his belief? Does he believe in God? He had skated on saying he has a Jewish heritage. I think I read he is an atheist." This could make several points difference with my peeps. My Southern Baptist peeps would draw a big difference between a Jew and an atheist.
Mike Barnicle, first of all, it's just absolutely deplorable. This is the sort of thing that people were attacking Donald Trump for during the Republican primary. And yet this is well beyond that.
Well, it's well beyond stupid, too. I mean, put stuff like that in an email. I mean, emails last forever. Listen, the point...
Also, though, it's just absolutely deplorable that you have the Democratic National Committee that is supposed to be down the middle and fair, supposed to be a referee,
were you surprised?
Actually saying, well, I'm surprised at this degree of it, that they're actually saying, let's go after him and bash him because he's a Jew or maybe he's an atheist.
But you're not surprised at them putting a thumb on the scale.
No, we knew that it was. Why do you think we said it was rigged?
Yeah.
We said it was rigged for good reason. But I'm just shocked that it was this rigged.
On Saturday, Brad Marshall, who wrote the email, posted on Facebook, "I deeply regret that my insensitive, emotional emails would cause embarrassment to the DNC, the chairwoman, and all of the staffers who worked hard to make the primary a fair and open process. The comments expressed do not reflect my beliefs, nor do they reflect the beliefs of DNC and its employees, and I apologize."
Why did he write them?
Meanwhile...
Well, but hold on. So, and I don't know Brad Marshall, and I hate to say this, I really do, because I don't know him. I don't know his family. No, you just have to say it. A guy that writes that sort of email, he needs to go. I mean, if you have somebody that is that's chief financial officer, and he's supposed to be down the middle, and he is saying, let's question his faith. This is
in the same party trying to set up an election process.
Right. Let's question his faith. The party that sees itself as a party of tolerance. Maybe we attack him as a Jew, or maybe we attack him as an atheist. That will be worth a couple of points. And so the question is, how does he remain in that position? This is
I don't know how.
I don't know how he remains in that position, especially because
Debbie speaks.
Donald Trump has gotten hell for bringing up people's religions. I mean, and this was happening behind the scenes, so clearly there's a double standard if he stays there. That being said, part of me feels bad because if my personal emails ever were released, I'd be petrified. There's stuff I say about
You've
people.
never written something like that.
No, I've never written something like that.
Well, listen, I think we would all...
No, that's the thing. I've never written anything like that.
I think we would all be petrified.
Except about Joe.
We would all be petrified if they came out. But that said, I would hope that if we were in a position that was supposed to be down the middle and fair, we would not be sitting there scheming, trying to figure out how to kneecap.
Yeah. I mean, part of this is that
candidate.
Clearly, at some point, the DNC made a calculation that Hillary was the candidate they wanted to win, right?
By the way,
at the very beginning, Sam,
in 2000. They did that in 2013.
So they
but
tried
go
to
ahead.
keep the veneer of impartiality while operating behind the scenes, and it's just like either they shouldn't have tried to seem impartial all along.
Right.
Or they should.
That would have helped.
Yeah.
The mask
or they shouldn't
is
have
off.
done this behind the scenes.
And we knew it all along. Meanwhile, the Clinton campaign suggested that Russia may be behind the exposure of the emails, saying this yesterday.
What's disturbing to us is that experts are telling us that Russian state actors broke into the DNC, stole these emails, and other experts are now saying that the Russians are releasing these emails for the purpose of actually helping Donald Trump. I don't think it's coincidental that these emails were released on the eve of our convention here. We also saw last week at the Republican convention that Trump and his allies made changes to the Republican platform to make it more pro-Russian, and we saw him talking about how NATO shouldn't intervene to defend, necessarily should intervene to defend our Eastern European allies if they're attacked by Russia. So I think when you put all this together, it's a disturbing picture.
They're pretty desperate pretty quickly, that's all I have to say on that.
I mean, it's a far reach, obviously. And to lead their convention with that tells me that they really are trying to move away from what the issues are going to be in this campaign. It's pretty absurd.
So, Mike Barnacle, so the Russians are helping Donald Trump, and Ted Cruz's dad hung out with Lee Harvey Oswald.
What a party.
I mean, no, I'm saying, what a convention. I mean, so we've got the Russian conspiracy on the Democratic side, and we have the Lee Harvey Oswald conspiracy on the Republican side.
The Russian story is actually very interesting.
Any evidence? Is there a shred of evidence for Hillary Clinton's campaign manager to come on and say that the Russians leaked this?
Yeah, there's a David Sanger piece in the New York Times this morning.
Tons of it.
2 Russian firms were in possession of these data troves. What was it? There was some other. The leaking party was through WikiLeaks. That a Russian agent was done there. There's circumstantial evidence.
Sanger writes very plainly this morning on the front page of the New York Times. All the forensic evidence points toward Russian intelligence agencies as the perpetrator of the theft of the National Committee.
Okay, so you know what you call that, though? At the end of the day, you know what you call that? Evidence. Okay, so there is evidence. So I should have read David Sanger this morning. I'm telling you.
Oh,
You get up very early, and so what you're telling me is this Ted Cruz thing is true too, right? Did
Obviously,
Sanger,
I can't speak on the Ted Cruz thing, but Sanger does lay out there two groups of hackers that they've tied back in the past to Russian intelligence.
Yeah.
This is an extraordinary story if it's true. This is the
Cold
Russian
War
government
stuff, yeah.
meddling. Talk about putting a thumb on the scale, meddling
Well,
in the American presidential election.
It's actually worse than Cold War stuff, because there you had them against us. Frank Ford at Slate, former New Republic editor, has
been writing
some
about it for a while.
incredible stories about Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump's sort of
Relationship.
quiet alliance together, relationship. Some people suggest that Donald Trump is not releasing his taxes because he made so much money from Putin's Russia. But you look at what Vladimir Putin has been doing and what he's been doing by funding the National Front in France, his support for other nationalist groups to spin off of the EU. He may politically be trying, and this is what Frank Ford talks about, trying to break up a united Europe bit by bit by bit. He stayed away from American politics, but now maybe getting involved in American politics.
Well, he's enjoying some success, isn't he, if that's his goal? Because Western Europe is already fractured because of immigration. The Russians are all over this thing technologically. I mean, they're all over it. If you talk to people in the State Department, I mean, they are fearful every day of the Russians hacking into systems. They hacked into the White House system.
And let me just say this: Mitt Romney was widely mocked by me and many others in 2012 for saying that the Russians were the major geopolitical threat to America.
Way to go, Sam.
And increasingly, I was an idiot. And increasingly, he was looking smart and prescient. And I apologize to Mitt Romney. Jeez.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, right? So you've got Trump saying nice things about Putin. Putin has said nice things about Trump. You've got the suggestion that in Frank's email Frank's writing about Trump having profited from Russia. You've got Trump last week saying that he's not totally committed to NATO, and that he might not support the nations in the Baltics if they were invaded by Russia, if they weren't paying their dues to NATO. And then you got Paul Manafort, who worked for the Russian-installed head of the Ukraine. So there are a lot of connections, circumstantial connections, but connections by this Putin-Trump axis. And now you have this maybe Russian-driven email leak on the eve of the Democratic Convention. This is like something out of fiction.
And then you have Donald Trump.
But really a compelling story.
And Meek, I've got to put a bow on this. Then you have Donald Trump coming on our show, and a lot of people were retweeting this yesterday. Donald Trump coming on our show and talking about how great Vladimir Putin was, and basically forgiving him, Putin, for assassinating journalists, and say we kill a lot of people here too. Even when the Soviet Union,
I'll never forget that.
even when the Soviet Union was still intact, he was there cozying up to leaders in the Soviet Union and actually praising China for cracking down at Tiananmen Square.
China.
People really
in a way that Russia did not.
Is he going to be forced to release his tax returns?
No, he won't.
Break.
He won't, and it may be because of Russia.
But we should keep demanding them.
Yes.
Every day.
Exactly.
This is
We have
amazing.
to go to break. By the way, the campaign manager, Robbie Mook, that you saw there, he's going to be on the show tomorrow. The Washington Post editorial board is out with a scathing non-endorsement of Donald Trump. Plus, The great Ed Rendell joins the table.